Morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast. From Canada, I have an entrepreneur, Kat Halushka, and she is a thought leader. She's an influencer. She predominantly contributes to her audience via speaking. She's also a business coach. She's written books, and she's the co-founder of Profitable Impact Academy. It's a business academy for impact makers. She got boot camps, public speaking training, and so I'm really happy to have her on the show to delve into her life's work. So, Kat, welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah. And I always love superheroes' origin stories. So, what's yours and how did it lead to what you're doing now?
My background is actually in web design and web development. I'm a nerd through and through. Love computers, love everything that's happening with AI and development and all of that stuff. And back in the days, I was in corporate. So I had my own IT department that I was running for a safety training company. And at some point, honestly, I just realizing that the ladder that I'm climbing is against the wrong wall. So I just knew that it wasn't for me. I felt very empty inside. It just didn't feel like I was on purpose or on the right path. And one of those days came when it just dawned on me that I'm in the wrong room. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. And that was the day that I written my resignation letter and handed it in. I didn't know what's going to come next just yet. And I believe that I will figure it out and that whatever is coming is going to put me on that path. It's going to be my next step. And sure enough, it came. It was that one event that made a huge difference for me. I just attended one of those business seminars. But what happened is not what they were teaching, rather, it was me watching another speaker on the stage who was an immigrant, just like me, had a really big English accent, just like me. But the difference was he had a business where he was selling coaching services. And within that one event, he sold more of the coaching services than I was making in a year in the corporate job. So it just a huge light bulb went off when it came to marketing myself and what it is that I do. That number one, I need huge clarity. Number two, I got to do public speaking. I just got to be in front of the room because this is where the money making activities are happening. And that's how Profitable Impact Academy essentially started.
Interesting. Yeah, really great story. One thing I have for you is you have these two moments. First is how can the listeners and viewers get in tune with that? Because sometimes it's like this small voice, sometimes it could be health or financial relationship or some scare. How can people get it more in tune to whether or not they're on the right path?
For me, it wasn't as drastic as for most of the people. Sometimes I talk to our clients or my friends, and they have something life changing happen in their life, and that eliminates that they're not where they're supposed to be. For me, it was rather coming in and day out into an office, into the same cubicle. And one day when I walked in, it was one of those sensory things. So I touched the back of my chair, and it almost like this darkness came over me. Like, it just felt so devastating to be right there in that spot, in that moment. And I just knew that was a part of my unhappiness. That was the thing that was draining me every single day. That was the thing of complacency. That was the emptiness. That was the lack of desire. That was just not knowing what to do with myself and not having any really path. Like, just feeling like I'm in that one spot, but nothing. And that was really the first step into really tapping into the intuition of, hey, I got to change something. I'm a little bit of a different story when it comes to taking a leap. Talk about 10x leaps, taking the leap and just literally writing resignation letter that night. For most of the people, it will take days, months, years. I think for me, the difference is I'm an immigrant. So I immigrated from Belarus to Canada when I was 19. That was feels like a million years ago now. And having a big change like that in life happen makes you just a little bit more courageous when it comes to taking those 10x leaps. Just a little bit easier to have confidence in myself because I knew I overcame something so big before that something like quitting a job is not going to stop me.
Ye Yeah. The other, you talk about this kind of courage and fear, and like I said, a lot of the listeners and viewers, they're very right-brained, they're engineer, doctor, lawyer, dentist. So how can they start to get into this sense of this intuition or this inkling? What are some overcoming fear tactics that you would recommend for if they have this inkling and they like, "Oh, I gotta quit my job, start a business, or pursue my passions, give back, contribute," etc.
Yeah, my advice number 1 is don't quit it. On the first day that you get the inkling, I had no plan. I didn't know what I'm gonna do. I just knew that my mortgage is coming out next month. And the amount of stress that it puts on human body and mind is insane. It's just not worth it. That's number 1. Don't do what I do. Number 2 is really talk to someone, but talk to someone who's not your friends and family, because your friends and family have the desire of keeping you safe, and safe means a lot of the same, right? Find someone who you can talk to, whether it's a therapist, a coach, maybe it is an advisor, right? That you can sit down and have conversations, who is an outside influence. So not person who is attached to the outcome or has even more fears about you than you yourself, like your mother. Don't do that. So having those conversations will just hear you gain the clarity of what is happening in the first place. One of the things that I usually say is when something comes up, bring it to light, aka speak it out. Whether you speak it out just to yourself in the room, I know you're going to feel crazy for the first little bit, but truly putting words to the thought that you're having helps you have a lot of clarity, because that's when you can attach the words to an emotion. While it's in your head, I don't even know the statistics. There's got to be 10,000 thoughts happening every minute in your head. Your conscious mind can't even keep up with it. And so once you're speaking it out, you can really feel into what I'm saying. Does it make sense? Does it feel good? Does it feel aligned? Does it feel like something completely out to lunch? Maybe you just had a bad dinner and bad sleep and you're just in a bad mood or bad client, right? Really sit down and create a plan on what does it look like for you to transition into something else. Create that vision, like very vivid vision, almost like painting a picture. And if you're an artist, I get it. I'm terrible at painting, but I can sure tape a lot of pictures to the wall or sticky notes on my side. So really plan out what does it look like to transition from every aspect of your life. So it shouldn't be damaging to your lifestyle. It should really support your lifestyle. Sometimes, and I worked with a lot of dentists and lawyers and professional careers like that. Sometimes what you need to understand is it's not always you just quitting what you do. Sometimes it's you figuring out how do you replace yourself in those positions. A lot of you listening could be owning your own practice. You could own a part of the practice somewhere, right? You can be an influential person on the team. So it's figuring out how can you get the support to replace a part of your capacity so that you can use that capacity to invest into what the future can look like for you. And then you can have a little bit of that time and space to experiment, right? So you can really look into, hey, if I did end up quitting this in the next year or two, what would I want to do? So you can dip your toes into it without having to sacrifice everything you worked so hard for. And again, don't do what I do. That's hard life. You don't deserve a hard life.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I remember because when I had a resignation letter and it was stored on my computer for 2 years, even, and I mean, it was so interesting because I had planned and prepared, but I was just so scared to take the leap because of what friends and family and
Yeah.
others would think. Talk about, because you talked about this very interesting concept where you reach the pinnacle, and I've noticed it in a lot of like Olympic athletes, or Michael Phelps, or they reach this pinnacle and then they fall into this despair and depression. How do you, for the people listening and doing this, how can they handle this when they hustled and they strived and they achieved, they went into debt and schooling, all this training, and then they get to this point and they're like, WTF, I just wasted 20 years doing this,
Mhm.
stupid nonsense. How do you help clients go through that period?
And yeah, Chris, that happens now more than ever. People go into tens of even or hundreds of thousands worth of debt in school. And then even if they finish it, because some of them don't even finish it, and they realize the devastating reality of the last 4 7 years have been a waste. In reality, I always try to find a different angle on my past. And maybe you can relate. We've all done things we're not proud of, especially in our teenage years. I'm not going to share them on a podcast. But the reality of that is the things that we have done and things that have happened for us in the past is what shaped us and who we are today. And so I always imagine, okay, so if I was to take a different path, so if I didn't go to school, I wouldn't meet the people that I've met. I wouldn't have created the challenges for myself of overcoming the adversity or overcoming my challenges when it comes to learning in general. I have ADHD. So for me, some of the learning has to be different, or the challenges of failing. There's so many times in school that I failed simply because I just wouldn't complete the homework on time, or I wouldn't complete my projects, or my projects just didn't work the way I want them to. And I always look at it, if I haven't had that, it wouldn't create this strong, independent, powerful, influential woman that I am today. And so everything that you're going through in your life and you have went through in your life have shaped you as you are today. I wouldn't give up any of that. And even if it comes with a burden of hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt, there's always a way out. Finances is such a hard topic, right? People get pretty sticky about finances. And somehow money is just everywhere. Canada is crying that there's so much in debt. And I'm from Canada, by the way, now. There's so much in debt and there's shortages in jobs and whatever. And yet, right around the block here, they're building 100 more houses. And I'm like, you can't tell me that there's shortage of money in the country and then build 100 houses in the it just doesn't make sense. So developers are thriving. People are moving into my province, into my city. People are buying houses, so they still have money. Banks are thriving. Every businesses are thriving. So it's the matter of really working on the mindset of what is it that I believe about myself that's stopping me from overcoming that. If it's $100,000 worth of student loans, so what is it that I believe about myself that's stopping me from just getting rid of that? So making that money or whichever other ways. I'm sure there's other ways too. So personal development is one of the core things that I talk about when it comes to the business development. I'm primarily on like marketing and business development side when it comes to my coaching. So I'm a business strategist, I'm a speaking coach. It's very much oriented towards making money and getting clients. And I fully understand that if the business owner in front of me, the person who is paying me for my services, are not working on developing themselves as a human, they will not succeed. So the first investment that every business owner should be making is investment in themselves and developing themselves. And that could look like personal development courses. It could look like therapy. It could look like different seminars, right? You can hire a life coach. There's so many different options. Options are definitely out there. You just got to find the right person for you.
Yeah. I love that. And love the top entrepreneurs and people that I know that have very powerful rituals and mindsets and routines. What are some, and I love the fact that you talked about something happening for you versus to you. What, in terms of mindset, what were the top mindsets that helped you go from this traditional corporate into becoming an entrepreneur?
The radical responsibility would be one of them. So taking responsibility for everything that's happening in my life. And I think that really shifted my perspective. So knowing that I am the cause of everything that's happening. A lot of people say to me, right? So for a lot of people, that's where they start. It happens to me. So knowing that I'm responsible for everything that happens to me makes me feel like I'm actually in control. So I'm in control of my own choices. We all have free will and we have free choice, right? So a mindset shift like that really creates an ability for you to do whatever you want. So if I have a free will and free choice, I chose to be on this podcast, right? At some point, I chose to eat like crap and gain 100 pounds. And now I'm choosing to focus on my health so that I can play pickleball every single day and so my ankles don't work, right? So the choice is always there. It's the matter of really not limiting yourself in the thoughts that you're having when it comes to the choice. So having that creativity. So capacity for creativity is really big. I talk about it in business when it comes to AI. AI is nothing but a tool to increase the capacity for creativity. There's the blank cursor syndrome, right? You look at the blank page or the Facebook cursor, right? What are you up to today? Or you're writing social media posts or you're pulling out your camera to film a video. The first few seconds are the hardest because now you have to really go through and push through the mindset of I can talk about everything or do I talk about something ultra specific? But then which one? AI really helps with that. They increase your capacity by helping you brainstorm it out, and then you can just pick one, right? And make it your own. So, increasing that capacity for creativity will also increase the capacity for human to choose the radical responsibility in their life and make better choices for themselves, but also know that they always have that choice. The biggest way it shows up in my life is saying no to things, which, man, the amount of people that are so uncomfortable saying no is insane. And that's the one thing that I really want people around me to notice and to actually experience. That saying no, but also receiving no doesn't have to be uncomfortable. It doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't matter. Other person is not my responsibility. I am. I can manage my emotions. I can manage my thoughts, right? And so if someone says no to me, I don't take it personally. Then that's their choice. And then the same vice versa. So saying no in my life and business has created the capacity for everything else. And that all started from actually reading just one book. It's called Rejection Proof. It's a story about a man who decided to do 100 days in a row of practicing rejection. So actually seeking rejection every single day. It was a huge mindset shift for me. It was a huge piece to understand that the only thing that's separating me from getting to my goals is actually asking for it. No matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter if they say yes or no, no matter what's coming next.
Interesting. And there was, and I love this piggybacking off this idea of saying no. What I've found during these periods is people are gonna, you're gonna be the haters, the naysayers, and then
Yeah.
the people close to you are they're gonna question you. How does this power of saying no? Because, like for me, I basically had to shut out all my peer group and create a new one. So I just had to just sit. How do you talk about creating a new peer group during these transitions and the power of a peer group and just letting go of what other people think? Talk about that.
Yeah, and it doesn't get much easier. I want to be clear about that because it's easy to look at someone else and play the comparison game and say, oh, this person is doing so great. They must not even care about it anymore. They do. In some capacity, it still comes up. It just gets easier for them to push it out of their mind because they have bigger goals and they have bigger reality and they have bigger things to focus on. But it still comes up. It's like working a muscle, right? You go to the gym every single day and your muscles get bigger and it gets easier to lift and you can lift more. It's no different. The more you do it, the easier it's going to get. And it just doesn't go away fully. For me, surrounding myself with people who truly support me made all the difference for the goals that I was able to achieve. And it's not even directly correlated. I think about it as right now, I am on my health journey. I have a plan that I follow when it comes to my food. The difference is of why it's working now and it hasn't worked 5 years ago is 5 years ago, I was surrounded by different people. Now I'm surrounded by people who, when I say, hey, I'm on the plan, here's what I need to follow, they go shop for me. They make sure they have food that I can actually eat and enjoy. They make sure the places we choose to eat have options for me. They make sure that they choose activities that I will actually be able to do. They make sure that they do everything possible and in their hands to support me with my goals. Go, that wasn't truth. 5 years ago, I had people who were asking me, why am I doing this? Not another diet. This is never going to work. And guess what it does to your psyche? You start believing them. It's very powerful to receive the same message over and over again. There's a reason why some of the biggest marketing firms, they pay millions of dollars to show you the same ad 1,000 times a day. Billboards are still a thing because they show you the same ad like hundreds of times a day. Every time you drive is the same ad because it works. It layers in the back of your mind and it works and it affects your decisions and it affects your choices.
Yeah.
So it's no different. You hear it enough time, you start believing it.
Interesting. Briefly talk about your work with the Impact Maker and if people were inspired by listening or watching, how they can connect with you, reach out to you, and learn more from you.
Absolutely. So primarily what I do is I help entrepreneurs and business owners step onto the stage and share their message. So I know every single one of you has a story to share. I'm here to show you how you can be seen, heard, and paid from that story. So I would love for people to go to Instagram and just find me and follow me there. It's instagram.com/Kat Halushka. And just DM me the word speaker, and I will send you my profitable speaker talk formula that breaks down exactly how to put together your next talk and how to share your story in the way that it creates the most impact.
Excellent. I really enjoyed this talk, and we need more thought leaders and influencers and people with the impact. And so thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Chris.